again, and welcome to another episode of Friends, Facts, and Fiction. As always, this podcast is made possible by our local convenience stores, the misappropriation of history, and you. And now to your hosts, Justin Hammonds, Grant Bramlett, and Drew Shellnut.
What's up? What's happening, world? This is a podcast called Friends, Facts, and Fiction. I'm Justin Hammonds, and I'm looking at my boy Drew Shellnut and my boy Grant Bramlett. And we back again on this season 3 of Psychology. And today we're going to be covering crazy experiments that you may or may not know of.
No. It's Cwazy Experiments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I'm learning this like y'all learning it. I didn't know that was the thing. I didn't know that was the thing at all. But yeah, crazy experiments.
He said it wrong twice.
Crazy experiment.
Yeah. Drew got it. I mean, come on.
I'm glad y'all got that locked in. Did y'all practice this? Y'all rehearsed this?
No.
Word.
We could just read the document. I mean, come on.
Well, actually, anybody been involved in crazy experiments before? Anybody here?
Not that I know of.
No?
I could have been, but
Yeah.
these people didn't know until centuries later,
Damn,
or decades later at least.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk about it. I don't know. I've done crazy experiments
Yeah,
on my
yeah,
own, like just as a kid. Doing,
Yeah.
See what fucking happens or something.
Right, like if you soak a firework in gasoline, what happens? You know, that was
I
a
do,
crazy
I do
experiment.
remember getting a Smithsonian chemistry kit that came with all these it came with 50 different little vials of the little pressure push. Unleashed
absolutely.
like pill bottles
Mm-hmm.
with different chemicals in them that you could combine together with their instruction.
Oh,
And
they're just giving that out to kids.
so I went to 5th grade, on show and tell day. I just thought of this. I went to and I was just like all these chemicals together and dropped a battery. A AA battery into it.
shit.
And she was just
Yeah,
like,
you
so
did.
what's supposed to happen? And I was like, the battery is supposed to turn blue.
Yeah.
The water turned blue and the battery started moving.
Oh, nice.
It worked.
That's cool.
It worked.
That's really
That's
cool.
a fucking crazy experiment.
I literally put all of them
Yeah.
together. All of the ones that had the skull and crossbones on them, at least.
Yeah.
I
All the
was
fun
just like,
ones. All the fun
battery.
ones. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Nothing happened. It just stunk really bad, and the battery did turn blue.
There you go. Well, there's that. There's a crazy experiment for you right there. Look at that. Live. Direct. He forgot about that until I asked him just now.
Yeah. Don't get your kids Smithsonian chemistry sets
I'm sure there's more regulations on shit now, bro. We were wild as kids. You remember purple ketchup?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy shit they did.
Yeah.
as kids, man. Ren and Stimpy was on Nickelodeon, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah.
We was
Rocco's Modern Life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude was a sex phone worker.
Yeah. That was
Ooh
an acid
baby,
show.
ooh baby.
Yeah, bro.
Totally forgot about that.
His neighbor was a megalomaniac frog.
Yeah.
That shit was wild, bro. Anyway, so we're going to slide into these hot facts. But before we do that, you know what time it is. Song of the Day of the Week. And it's on me today. And my life has been pretty hectic the past 4 days. So I was vibing to a very low-key track. It's called Haze by Jesse Solomon featuring Sam Wise, I believe. It's a dope track. Some cats from the UK, I believe. It's super
Sounds
vibey.
like it.
Yeah, they sound like they're from the UK. But I found it the other day, and it kind of out of the chaos of my shit, it was like, word, this is chill. You know what I'm saying? It's vibey. I dig it. Check it out. You know what I'm saying?
Vibe imported the haze, stuck in my ways, you thought it's a phase. Stuck in my city, you thought it's a maze. Stuck in my hey. Yeah. I'm cool, look in my face. Do I look bothered? Catherine Tate. I took Catherine down to the Tate. I took your girl on a little date. Lobster croquette on a little plate. This is a game, nigga, I just play it. She clocked it. But the game ain't clocked yet. Yeah, I just Henny unboxed it. Yeah, you know I got this. Yeah, go screaming like foxes. Yeah, drippy
I really liked it. I liked the little like synth patches and stuff that they had going on in the background. And it's also fun to listen to hip hop artists from other countries. You know, like the UK. It's technically English, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't catch a word of it.
I love
honestly.
the one line. It says, "Do I look bothered? Confrontate?" And I was like, "Oh, do I look bothered? Try to confrontate me?" Is what he's saying about.
Right.
The way it flowed, I was like, "Oh, that's nice." But what did he? Do I look bothered? Confrontate? And I was like, "The fuck?" Oh, it's vibe. I had to listen to it like 3 times to like get all the lyrics. But like, super dope track. I vibed to it like on my crazy days this week, man. It saved my sanity.
I've also realized like listening to like French hip hop, which is super cool because their language is already beautiful and it all kind of mush mouth melds together anyways. So it works really well for that genre. But it's no different for me.
You're not listening to the words any fucking way.
I'm never listening to the words ever. So I'm just like, yeah, they're saying stuff, you know.
It flows. It flows with the beat.
Yeah, nice. That's all I care about.
Big facts. Big facts with this guy.
Ba-rum-ba-bum-bum over here.
But yeah, man, check that joint out, man. Haze by Jesse Solomon. Give it a spin. Also, every song of the day of the week is on a playlist on Spotify. It's a playlist created by Friends, Facts, and Fiction called Songs of the Day of the Week. So find that on Spotify if you like to hear all the songs that we put in there together. And some of them are fucking hilarious because they're in there with like dope tracks, and there's like a song from the 50s that we just threw in there, and like some death metal is in there somewhere, and like Adam Sandler's Turkey song is in there.
Yeah.
It's a great Spotify playlist. If you can find it, go listen to it.
It sounds like our brains.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, chill and vibey, crazy and dark, kind of quirky. You know what I'm saying? Like
He's not lying.
That's the vibes. That's the vibes. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're gonna sign to these hot facts, man, of crazy experiments.
We've got some crazy experiments. I'm gonna jump into the first one, which is the invisible gorilla experiment. So,
such a good title.
Yeah,
such a good title.
It's kind of dark. It feels like it's what? Invisible gorilla. That's terrifying.
That is kind of terrifying if you think about it.
It's fucking terrifying.
Now that I think about it, I've done research for a week on that. I looked into it and was like,
I do love that idea.
now that I think about an actual invisible gorilla,
yeah.
I don't
Is this a case of schizophrenia, or is this a whole series about one guy that can see the invisible gorilla?
This guy should be locked up.
The big twist at the end is you realize the invisible gorilla is real. You know, just
the invisible gorilla is you.
It's like a They Live situation where you put on the glasses and you see the real shit. Like, you can't see that.
Okay,
spooky.
So this guy named Daniel Simmons and Christopher Chabris, they conducted an experiment at Harvard. Went a little something like this. Sorry, I had to push one out real quick. So it went a little something like this.
What was that? Anyway.
So imagine you're asked to watch a short video. 6 people, 3 in white, 3 in black. And they're passing a basketball around. You can only count the people in white passing the basketball around and the times that they do it in the allotted time of the video that you're shown.
Is this
and
white
or
clothing?
White shirt.
White clothing. Okay,
White shirt or all white and black. So, but at some point, a gorilla strolls into the middle of the action and faces the camera, thumps his chest, and then leaves, spending 9 seconds on screen only.
That's a long time.
Would you see the gorilla?
Honestly, that's a long time.
I think I would see the fucking gorilla, bro.
Well, everybody,
it's a gorilla.
Essentially everybody who was asked this question was like, yeah, of course, why wouldn't I see a gorilla that just walked in front of him? It's just
6 people passing a basketball.
12 people, 6 people, like 3 and 3 passing a basketball. You watch only the white shirts and count that. This is not the case, though. The experiment reveals 2 things. After seeing that only half of these people saw the gorilla. So, literally,
That's
was
crazy.
it was
That's odd.
invisible to the other people.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So like completely. It's like, yeah, of course I did. The experiment reveals two things, like I said. We are missing a lot of what goes on around us, obviously. And we have no idea that we are missing so much. And this video, by the way, is on YouTube if you guys want to check it out. Like, just look up the Invisible Gorilla Experiment. They have the video up. I looked at it before I wrote this and was just like, and count them. Yep. And I counted 13. And it was 15. I noticed, though, when I stopped counting is when the gorilla walked across the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Most people either see the gorilla and quit counting,
Right.
or don't see the gorilla at all and have
Because there's a focus
the
on
exact
counting.
number.
Yeah.
Because it's that perceptual, kind of dissonance there, which is, pretty much what this whole episode is about, is fucking with people's perception.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me think about there's an episode of Mythbusters.
Mhm.
Love that show. But there's a guy that was like touting about being a really good texting driver or whatever. And then they put him through this optical course and he had to like be on his phone. So they were like texting him a lot and then calling him and all this stuff and like putting him through this obstacle course. So one without it. And then another, I think they used a control. So somebody else driving the obstacle course. Right. And then they had him very heavily distracted. He scored like a 30% versus his almost 100% of completely undistracted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that, like, we really, I wouldn't say that we have one-track minds, and we are capable of certain levels of multitasking, but there's a level that you can get to where you have to focus on one or the other. And so in this case, you're going to miss the gorilla or
It's the whole it's the old argument of like being able to actually and physically and mentally do two things at once.
Mhm.
And how it's impossible to do two things at once, which it is.
Yeah.
You can do two things on your perceptual view of things, of doing two things at once, but the synopsis on everything in your brain is split seconds off of each other.
Right.
You're not doing the two things at once.
So see, this thing with cooking is like you got to multitask. But you can like have this going over here and have that going over there. Technically, you're doing it at the same time, but it's not at the same time.
Yeah. No, you're not.
You feel me?
But you're quote unquote multitasking.
Exactly. yeah, definitely.
That's why that soup burned. Yeah. It was multitasking.
It's multitasking.
Sorry, guys.
But you forgot about the pot that was on the burner, bro. So,
Oh, it was on high.
you walked away and left something on high.
Whose fault was that? Oh, it was. I told him
I think it was the
yesterday,
fire.
like
Temperature,
I was gonna have this soup going, and I was gonna leave early today, and I didn't say nothing to him, but I said something to him yesterday, so it's his fault.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never your fault.
It's that perceptual reality,
It's real. It's a real thing.
But like I said before, if you want to check out this, they even wrote, a little op-ed about it called The Invisible Gorilla, or you can just check into YouTube on The Invisible Gorilla.
I put the link in the comments.
Yeah, cool.
dope.
So it's there in the comments.
Oh yeah. By the way, we're live every Monday, 7:30.
As if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. Well, it's for the audio.
Sure.
Audience. And your mom's viewing again.
Oh,
hey.
All right, so I'm going to dive into an experiment that's got one of those sort of fun results. I wouldn't necessarily say surprise results. I was surprised to find the results, but I think apparently they were, I don't know, it could have been that thing where it's like, oh, yeah, no, we figured that would happen. But to me, it was surprising. But it was from an American social psychologist, Leon Festinger, in 1957, when he concocted a really fun scheme in which the tester lies to the subject and then has them lie to other people, like a bunch of liars, know? Science. Just kidding. But this was all based off of
Theories
lies.
and laws, yeah.
Yeah. So leading up to this particular experiment, Festinger was studying aspects of behaviorist view of social psychology and ended up challenging a view based on this, like a stimulus response conditioning thought at the time. So basically, if you're taught that lying is wrong, you're less inclined to do so. Was kind of the thought process. He's also credited with advancing the use of laboratory experimentation in social psychology and infiltrated a doomsday cult to study them.
Oh.
I know. I just needed to throw that in there because it was hilarious.
Interesting.
So he believing that field work is also important, and clearly it is, but also he clearly fucking thought so.
Right.
Real quick, though, so this cult thought that another great flood was coming at the end of 54 and that a flying saucer was going to come in and save them. So Festinger snuck in and joined them to see their thoughts and beliefs before, during, and after this didn't happen. At least to them. I mean, I think I've probably told you guys my great uncle. He got picked up by the flying saucer, but not those guys.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, it's crazy.
I got hit in the head by a flying saucer one time, but that was because I pissed my mom off. But that's different.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. That button.
It's funny because it's true.
Nice.
But if you guys are interested in that thing, which I think I might, whenever I fucking have time, he wrote a book on it called "When Prophecy Fails," and this is one of the first cases of cognitive dissonance ever recorded, which we'll get into in a second. But first, the famous experiment. So the hypothesis was the existence of dissonance or an inconsistency, being psychologically uncomfortable, will motivate the person to try and reduce the feeling and achieve consonance or consistency. When this feeling is present, in addition to trying to reduce it, the person will actively avoid situations and information which would likely increase the dissonance. So they're going to tell themselves whatever they can or do whatever they can to feel better.
Right.
That's the basis here.
Yeah.
This reduction can be achieved by changing your actions or selectively acquiring new information or opinions. An example Festinger used is of smoking. Once learning that smoking is bad for you, you can feel better mentally by quitting, telling yourself it's not that bad, or looking to positive effects of smoking like preventing weight gain. Right?
We've all been there. Huh?
So, the experiment itself, subjects are told they're participating in a 2-hour tour.
A 2-hour tour.
And that the experiment aims to observe. Thank you, Drew. The relationship between expectations and the actual experience of a task. With nothing else to go on, they have to move a bunch of pegs and even turn pegs slightly for hours, right? So the patient is bored to hell. And the proctor is pretending to record their times and basically snickering quietly to themselves. Then the subjects are debriefed by being told that there are two groups. The group that they are in, which was told very little, and the next group is supposed to be told about the tasks and the overall experience of the study beforehand. In reality, this is where the conditions divide into a control, a dollar group, and a $20 chunk, or a third group.
$20 chunk. I like that.
That's a new one. That's a new one.
$20 chunk.
$20 chunk. The next step is the master deception. After debriefing, the proctor tells the subjects that the other group needs someone to explain the experiment to the next group. And some no good, rotten slacker never even fucking showed up to do it. And if the subject would be so kind to do it for them, for the price of either $1, which is around $9 today, or $20, about 180 smackers in current monies.
God damn.
If they agreed, they were given a script that was complete malarkey. Shit like, it was very enjoyable, very exciting. I had a lot of fun. You know, a bunch of lies. The subject turned actors were then interviewed about the whole deal with a ranking system attached. Were the tasks interesting and enjoyable? -5 to +5. Did you learn about yourself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? The crazy thing, at least to me, is that the control group, who didn't have to lie to some poor sap, and the group that got paid $180 to lie, scored about the same in the exit interview. And the ones only paid $9 in today monies scored higher on how much they enjoyed the experience. Right.
Interesting.
So in a shell nut, the group...
Hey!
The control group hated it for good reason and had no reason to say otherwise. The people paid $180 had a good reason to lie to the following group and therefore didn't need to lie to themselves. And the $9 group had to lie to themselves for relief of the overall experience. Removing money from this equation and looking at other aspects of life is where this experiment and the resulting proof of how far we will go without us even realizing it, to have it make sense or to make ourselves comfortable. Let's look at flat earthers who choose to actively ignore science or even go as far as to say that everyone in the scientific community has some nefarious master plan around lying to us about the shape of the planet. Or people waving the stars and bars using the defense of our heritage to placate their consciences and around supporting a treasonous group of racists.
Yeah, fuck all those people. We still have not got any traction on our Carmelo theory.
Carmelo
Flat
Earth.
earthers.
Come on, guys.
Hollow Earth and flat earthers. We got to unite, guys.
That's true. That's true.
We gotta
It's a
come together.
bipartisan agreement here that we're talking about.
We're coming across the
gotta
aisle
come
to you
together.
guys, okay?
Yeah.
like,
I'm saying.
like we yeah.
Bro, shouts
We're
out
not
to
Ted Cruzing and just dipping out. That's all I'm saying.
We're trying to lead a united conspiracy theory that the world is flat and hollow.
And filled with caramel.
And filled with caramel.
Because it's delicious.
Because it's
I
amazing.
love caramel.
So petition your local senators, governors, whatever you need to for
Bro, if
a
there's-
really big straw. Because that's going to put us on the map.
Bro, if
You
there's
thought that it was fossil fuels? Nah, we just found caramel
I know.
in the middle of the earth.
if there's
Come
a
on, you
Bigfoot-
dum-dums.
If there's a Bigfoot hunting season, like being written up
That's
in
right.
the
Yeah.
state, we should definitely just bring them together.
There's got to be a caramel drill.
And shouts out to
Yeah.
Godzilla versus Kong or Kong versus Godzilla. A lot of Hollow Earth shit in there. And it's pretty fucking badass, actually.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
It's pretty sick.
But just to wrap that up,
Back to the hot facts.
the theory of cognitive dissonance helps us understand how reasoning with people like this doesn't work, right? If you try and use science to explain that the Earth is not flat to a flat earther, it in fact forces them to double down into their wrong beliefs, right? They just dig a little deeper. They dig their little dumb claws into their little idiot, fucking...
Well, I mean, if you can take that onto as a male, you can take that onto a sports realm perception. Someone's talking shit about your team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, this dude fucking sucked last week. Well, I mean, the linebacker though, that dude's the next ticket, bro.
Yeah.
Like we got him. Oh, I knew our running back kind of fucked up, but that linebacker, bro, next week, come and get him. Yeah,
it makes that person
it's
feel
pretty-
better about their... Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
going to lead me to, I don't know, to the
Text
laughing
about
boy.
work, bro. Motherfucker just hit me up about some work shit on my phone.
So the next study is called the Monster Study.
Hello, Drew, you're fun over here talking about gorillas and
Monsters and
now. I like this.
gorillas.
Like Monsters Inc.
No,
Great film.
maybe.
Because Monsters Inc. University. The
Monsters Inc. University is actually better than the original.
The Monsters
I
Study.
Whoa.
I think.
Whoa.
I think Monsters Inc.
Flying
University
over my pun here.
is better
Okay,
than the original. I'm just saying.
I liked it a lot.
I liked it a whole lot.
That's dope.
It was great. It was like a Monsters Inc. University.
Or the Monsters Study. Yeah. I'm gonna keep
I was
throwing
going.
my pun
I was going to try to
Oh,
go
I got it.
a Hoffman,
It was
a Hoffman
terrible.
way. But yeah, I know. No, the monster,
Quality.
the monster study. Shut your mouth.
Chaos. Okay.
We're getting angry. It's nice. We ain't getting angry. Okay, so this was the monster study was conducted by Mary Tudor, Tudor, not a tutor for you, with the supervision of Vindel Johnson, which he would have hated if I would have said his name that way, because the reason why all of his findings on this were pushed off were because all of this was going on at the same time as the Nazis bullshit in 1939 at the University of Iowa. So it was here on our turf. But we'll dive into why he was called the monster for this. So the research began with a selection of 22 subjects from a veterans orphanage in Iowa. None were told the intent of the research. So nobody was let know. They were just like, and at that point, orphans wanted to just get out where they could. You know, they were, let's do what we can.
Yeah.
You know,
Jeez.
which is fucked.
And these are kids.
And these are
orphans
children,
because they're
5 to 15.
That's fucking
also because their parents died in battle.
Yeah,
That's fucking-
yeah, exactly. So these kids' parents
place.
died in battle, and they were thrown into these socio-civic experiments, if you will, which kind of
Damn.
well, it molded them for the rest of their
Yeah,
lives
that's a mind
before we
fuck.
get into anything. You know, I mean, it really did.
Yeah.
Intense.
So under his, I guess, control or whatever observation, she did all of these studies and everything. Tudor was trying to induce stuttering in healthy children, and to see whether like putting negative thoughts into these healthy kids would make them stutter, or so what she did is she took these kids. Half were stutterers, half were not. And they just went through and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are the people who are stutterers. These are not, without knowing if they did or not.
Mm-hmm.
And enforced them with either positive or negative reinforcement on these subjects. So what she unintentionally did out of these 23 subjects was essentially create people who stuttered that weren't stuttering, and or took people out of stuttering, out of positive and or negative reinforcement.
So
essentially,
wild. Like,
she walked in on
it's
like,
crazy.
there's like, so we cut it in half, like 12 or like 10 or 11 per group, you know.
Yeah.
She cut them in half, had her and her group said positive things. The other group said negative things towards the people. Like the positive things were like, you have very good intuition and you speak very well. Whereas the negative classes were looked at and talked to as you sound like everybody else says you do.
Mm.
Not like, this, and it's just like, everybody sounds like you, says you sound like shit, and you kind of do, you know?
Basically.
Yeah, but in that, there were the controls of the people who didn't stutter.
Yeah.
And in both groups, the ones that were positively enforced on this never stuttered again. Even the stutterers.
That's crazy.
The people who never stuttered before and the people who stuttered that were put into those groups never got over it for the rest of their fucking lives because they were so negatively enforced on these situations. You know, just like essentially just like walking up and was like, yeah, you're a fucking piece of shit. Yeah. You'll never get your shit together. And it's okay. You'll do better. You got this.
Yeah.
And that's essentially like, as much as I can write and go into that experiment, that's what it was. And like I say, like he kept that shit hidden for so long because that's the same thing the Nazis were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We weren't trying to change the eye color in this experiment.
They were a lot more brutal. Let's be honest.
No. But essentially, not essentially, they were doing that test as well.
Yeah.
If we were doing that to the extremes of what they were doing their shit, they were obviously doing something along that line as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it really, he did not agree with Tudor, Wendell, that is, with a lot of things. But what he did agree with is trying to figure it out. And that's where they found their common ground. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like she came at him with like, hey, I hear that, you know, certain people that use their left hand, maybe the reason why they have an imbalance is because they're using their right brain with their left hand.
Yeah.
Right. Which he didn't agree with, but he said, just go about it. You can agree with and or disagree with whatever, and until you see it, you're not really going to be able to give your actual opinion
the purpose
upon it.
Of an experiment, you know what I mean? Hypothesis into, you know.
No. Yeah. So that's essentially what that was, which was
That sounds brutal, and they ruin people's lives.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially orphans.
Yeah.
Orphans who just lost their
You already
parents
don't,
in
you don't
war.
have family, and now you got depression and
A speech
a
impediment.
speech
Yeah.
impediment, and like you probably never be truly happy again ever. All because some motherfuckers was like, I wonder if I could do this.
Yeah.
I wonder what's the effects of this.
Or very specifically in this case, I wonder if it is left-handedness
Yeah.
that causes stuttering.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And they even
something that small.
they even
affected
called it
people's lives.
mental handedness
Wow.
when they were going into it.
That's crazy.
Like this is the experiment on mental handedness, and Wendell was like, "Oh man, this is shit ain't gonna work. It's fucking."
Thinking about it deeper, I mean, they probably affected like that whole person's bloodline because that's
100%.
initially that's
yeah.
genetically, like wow.
Yeah, because you genetically, whether you agree with it or not, this is like just facts. We've gone through this last fucking season, but
Yeah.
mental things
Yeah.
carry down genetically.
Genetically.
So I mean, if you
depression
fuck
and
with
trauma,
somebody's psyche,
that
their
deep,
genes
bro,
are probably going to be fucked
especially
with
that
as
young
well.
too, because you live with it for the rest of your life. I mean, your whole being adjusts to
Mhm.
that. So like, shit gets deep. It gets deeper.
Yeah.
That's a fucked up experiment. Wow, that's not even crazy. That's just fucked up.
Yeah, really, this is fucked up.
That's why it's
Experiment.
called the monster experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
Yes.
So, moving on to another experiment that shows how wrong we can be and not know it, especially when there's a bunch of liars involved again. Goddamn liars. The whole
More
liars.
liars. You
All
got,
liars.
you got all the liars.
Liars.
Wait, all my guys are liars too, so it's okay.
So, this notion has been around for a long time, but the experiment I'm outlining is a little more recent, from the early 90s, in which a psychology professor, Loftus, and an undergraduate of hers, Cohn, concocted a scheme around false memories, in which Cohn invited his mother, sister, and brother to participate. So he wrote some booklets and handed them out. They each contained 4 short stories of their individual pasts, and asked them to spend 6 days remembering as much as they could and write that down.
I'm going with remembering.
Yeah, okay, cool.
All right.
Here's the kicker. 3 were real. 1 was a dirty, rotten motherfucking lie. And they focused on the best example of a lie, his younger brother's false memory of getting lost in a mall when he was 5 and being rescued by some old lady.
Mm-hmm.
During the experiment, Cohn's brother unwittingly invented several additional details of the false narrative. At the conclusion of the experiment, during a tape-recorded debriefing, when told that one of the narratives was false, Cohn's brother could not identify which one was false and even expressed disbelief when they told him. It's like, hey, you did not get lost in the mall. And it was like, no, I'm pretty sure I did.
I passed Babbage's and Foot Locker is there, and I'm not there now.
The Cohn later refined the study methodology for his senior thesis, where he reports all subjects were able to identify the false memory eventually, by the way. So they took this as a partial win and decided to keep on trucking. With a refined methodology and 24 random peoples this time, 25% reported remembering the false story. The memory for the false event was usually reported to be less clear than the true events, and people generally used more words to describe the true events than the false ones. But at the end of the study, when participants were told one of the 4 events were false, 5 out of those 24 failed to identify the lost in the mall event as the false event, and instead picked one of the true events to be false. Loftus called this study existence proof for the phenomenon of false memory creation and suggests that false memory is formed as a result of the suggested event, in this case being lost in a mall, being incorporated into already existing memories of going to the mall. With the passage of time, it becomes harder for people to differentiate between what actually happened and what was imagined, and they make memory errors. However, it remains to be seen how an older relative verifying the lost incident applies to what might happen in therapy. What they were going for all along was purposefully implanting false memories to quell the debate about the existence of repressed memories, what Freud based his entire entire early clinical career on. Yeah.
So we tied that together.
Yes, we did.
We tuned in last week. Yeah.
See, I'm doing stuff over here.
Are you guys listening to him, what he is saying? It is very interesting.
I forgot Freud was still here. He's been in the studio for a week.
And they achieved something that is generally accepted, but some argue that these particular implanted memories are traumatic enough, essentially. So they used the subject's family members to do the interviewing. Their study was able to replicate Loftus's, whatever the plural of or possessive of findings that memories of being lost in the mall could be created and were more likely to occur in young children. However, a much smaller number of children reported false memories of another untrue incident, that of a painful and embarrassing one. Another article by Kenneth Pope, an American psychologist, suggested possible confounding variables in the study, questioning whether the technique's ability to generate a false memory could be compared with the ability of a therapist to create a pseudo-memory of childhood sexual abuse.
Woof.
Yeah. Pretty crazy thing with her. She ended up getting sued a little later on in her career, and then ended up backing out of further psychological, sociological
for inflicting trauma.
things. Well, more so, there was some kind of child custody battle case, and the defense lawyer used her experiment.
Oh, wow.
And findings as proof of this parent should get custody of this child. And it ended up turning out that that child shouldn't have gone to that parent or whatever. So she ended up getting sued later on when they dug even deeper into all this and figured out that, I don't know, it was a whole crazy fucking thing.
Wild, bro.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I was
That's
trying
a delicate situation.
I was going to put it all in there, but I was like, it's very legal jargony and also kind of fucked up to spend a lot of time on.
Yeah. It's a fucked up situation. Jesus.
But I did want to finish up with such implications have been well documented. However, there are now wider lessons to be learned about our current misinformation age from this fascinating paradigm. It's one thing to understand that our autobiographical memories can be seriously manipulated by malign forms of suggestion. But what happens when our pre-existing biases and beliefs encounter similar manipulations? False information designed for political or personal gain has, it can be argued, always been a problem. But now with the channels of miscommunication so slick, a malign deception can take on a hue of truth faster than ever before.
Yeah.
And we
Seen that shit
now
in the
have
past
at
4
our
years.
disposal the technology to provide compelling photographic and video, quote-unquote, evidence for such false events.
Yeah, like, when they said that George Floyd died of complications with breathing. It's like, bro.
Yeah,
we
he
saw the
did.
video, bro.
He definitely did die of
But the way,
complications of breathing.
but like not the way they tried to put it out
I
at
know,
first.
I
It's like,
know.
bro, we got video. Like,
I know.
you can't just lie anymore.
Yeah,
You
his
can't
breath
just-
was complicated by a knee on the back of his fucking neck.
It should be the time of like death of propaganda because you could research shit, but people don't take the time because of shit like this,
Which is funny too,
So
because
shit implanted in your brain. It's like,
the
oh yeah,
time
that's
of,
right.
It's the time of propaganda, but it's also the time of believe what you want to see.
Oh.
You know,
Or you can see what you want to not believe, which you should actually be fucking seeing.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no, because they said that. It's like, bro, they said that.
Well,
but
okay.
this is the
Well,
fact.
that oddly
Yeah.
leads us into my next little guy, which is the third wave experiment.
Oh, shit.
The
Yeah, it does.
third wave. So, like I said before, this is all perceptual, a perceptual belief of what you are presented. Everything that we're going over today, which is essentially psychology, but in these experiments. Third wave is one of the most interesting social experiments I've ever seen and or heard of. So it took place in 1967 by a high school teacher named Ron Jones, a high school history teacher at that. It was in California at Cubberley High School. Cubberley.
Cupboardly.
That's just so damn nice.
Cubberley.
Cubberley.
I really hope that they're like the teddy bears.
Mm.
You know?
Well, let's
Cumberly bears?
Let's find out.
Kimberly Bears.
Yeah. Cumberleys. Or the Cumberly Tuggy Bears. So this guy decided if he could replicate the effects on the German population by the Third Reich by experimenting on his senior students.
Wow.
Oh man, that's a risky move there, Ron.
You know?
God damn, bro.
So let's start off with
What?
the first out of 5 days.
Okay.
First day. The first day's session was closed with only a few rules. Being rather simple and intended to be on a one-day experiment, he thought was just going to be a one-day experiment.
yeah,
you know?
thought.
So students had to be sitting at attention before the second bell rang, had to stand up to ask or answer questions, and had to do it in 3 words or fewer, and were required to preface each remark with, "Mr. Jones."
Interesting.
So he did that for the first day.
Brainwashing.
Right. Second day rolls around. Jones decided to continue the experiment after observing his students' strict adherence to the previous day's rules. Jones added strength through community to the chalkboard and proceeded to name his movement the Third Wave.
Instead of the Third Reich.
Yeah.
Got it now.
Jones, he based his name of his movement on the supposed fact that the third wave in its succession is the strongest.
Okay.
So Jones created a salute involving a cupped hand reaching across the chest towards the opposite shoulder, resembling a Hitler salute.
Ooh.
And ordered the class members to salute each other both inside and outside of class.
Oh, wow.
Jones then assigned each of his students an individual assignment, such as designing the, like third wave banner, stopping non-members from entering the classroom, even, and recruiting their friends to join.
Oh my God, this is making me so uncomfortable.
So yeah, so this happens the third day. We're talking about 72 fucking hours.
Yeah.
Third day rolls around. The movement had expanded from 30 to 43 students.
Damn.
Jones added strength through action to the chalkboard. All the students were issued a member card. Jones instructed the students on how to initiate new members, and by the end of the day, the movement had ended up at 200 people.
Oh my
At
God.
the end of the day?
Oh
Yes.
my
The
God.
third day.
Third day, 200 people.
But this is sounding like some,
Yeah.
that's fucked
Yeah.
up.
So Jones instructed 3 students to report to him when other members of the movement failed to abide by the rules, but was surprised that when 20 of the students made such reports, not 3. So essentially the students started to proceed with their own fucking rules on this.
Of course.
After he instructed them with this,
Of course.
they started taking it into their own light and moving with that.
Take it, run with it.
So
Run, tell that, tell the vibe.
even moving so far as to have a bodyguard, for the student body.
Wow.
Day 4. On the 4th day, he decides to call it quits because of this bodyguard hierarchy that they've put in place that is literally physically assaulting other students and punishing members that they thought, quote unquote, fucked up by sending them to the library, which was essentially just like a detention zone jail.
What the fuck, bro?
Straight up. Like, just
Damn.
sent them to the library and they would be in
it.
detention
So
because,
it's like never mind.
So he saw that and he advised us to, he's like, calls it to a quits on day 4 and advises students that the movement was a nationwide movement, nationwide, not that he had made it up. And at noon the next day, they would unveil the president of this movement. And for everybody to come to the school the next day at noon that were a part of that movement and be part of this inaugural, presence or whatever. So essentially the student shows up and he gives each of them like a little card or whatever, and they flip on the screens, black screen, for like 12 minutes. And they're like, what the fuck's going on? And instead of playing the inaugural address, if you will, he flips on a Nazi fucking video
Holy shit.
and goes, "This was a social experiment. You guys are all part of it. I'm sorry."
Wow.
That's the long and skinny of it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And
Holy
the
shit.
University of Iowa has since then been like, "Guys, we're fucking sorry.
We let this nigga.
We let
this dude
Looney
run
Ballooney
around.
on campus, and he did this to you guys. I'm so sorry." I mean, but for real though,
Sure.
and that's what happened with that. Yeah, he realized how fast
Yeah.
and enigmatic characteristic could push people towards things that they would have never done before in their life.
Sounds like a lot of people that start buying red hats circa 2016.
I think that there's like I don't know, it's a M, and I don't know, my brain's, it's like an M and an A, and a G and a B,
It's
B
an
and
A.
A,
Yeah.
Mac, Maga.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
that's
they
it.
keep referring to it as a Trump movement, I'm like, bro, you're not realizing what the fuck y'all are saying, bro? Like, I mean, goddamn, like,
Yeah.
you believing in this person like a religion. This shit
Yeah.
is creepy, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond like the madness and the bullshit they do, it's just fucking creepy. Like, are you that mentally dependent on a fucking psychopath?
Well, I mean, but that just goes to show how
weird.
easy something like that can take off and
Mm-hmm.
get out of hand.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
run
but
with it.
belief is the strongest thing we have, bro.
Right.
Like, you believe in something, you'd be surprised what you'll do for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for real.
Yeah.
That goes to anything and everybody. Like, straight up. That's fucking wild that they just let that dude do that shit.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, but yeah, go ahead, man. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to start a little Nazi movement? Cool, man. Do you?
So I'm gonna do.
They didn't let him. He just did it himself.
just-
Oh, he just busts
did it.
open
No,
the door.
he,
Like,
he
we
just
here.
like, "I am the student body."
Oh, so he just Kool-Aid man that shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
I'm
no.
here now.
Once the student body finds out, we're gonna be all killed.
I'm here now. Yeah, deal with this.
So speak on your next
I always,
little
I always
movement.
thought as a kid how terrifying that would be. If you're just like chilling on a couch or something, as motherfucker just busting the fucking wall, like, oh yeah. I was like, oh no, nigga, like, what the fuck? What? Like, why are you here, bro?
Yeah, that
like,
would truly be terrifying.
yeah, bro.
You know?
I'd be fucking
And also, how does that dude made out of glass not shatter when he goes through a brick wall
or spill any liquid.
or ever spill any Kool-Aid of
Bruh.
his own?
Bruh.
And also, is he getting people to drink his own blood?
Yeah. Like,
What's happening?
Is he just leaning over and pouring cups?
That's weird. The whole thing's weird. I don't like any of it.
It is very strange, but Kool-Aid is delicious. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Every time I take my first sip, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the one. That's the one.
You're ridiculous.
Hey, I'm just me.
All right, well, I'm gonna start without Drew.
Yeah.
But so I saved my worst for last as well. This one is the Stanford Prison Experiment. Sure, a fair amount of people have heard of this because it's very, very infamous. But it was a social psychology experiment that attempted to investigate the psychological effects of perceived power, focusing on the struggle between prisoners and prison officers. It was conducted at Stanford University in 1971 by a research group led by psychology professor Philip Zimbardo, using college students. In the study, volunteers were assigned to either be guards or prisoners by the flip of a coin, mind you. That honestly, to me, becomes quite important later. They literally flipped the coin in front of them. It was like, okay, you're a prisoner. Next person, flip. Okay, you're a guard, right? That's how they decided.
wild.
And they saw them decide total random.
Well, at least
right?
it was in front of him.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, also it makes sure that like nobody had favoritism. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly. That's kind of the...
Yeah.
Right.
Either way, in a mock prison, with Zimbardo himself serving as the superintendent. Several quote-unquote prisoners left mid-experiment, and the whole experiment was abandoned after just 6 days. It was supposed to be a 2-week study.
Jesus.
Damn, didn't even pass the first week.
Jesus.
Early reports on experimental results claim that students quickly embraced their assigned roles, with some guards enforcing authoritarian measures and ultimately subjecting some prisoners to psychological torture, while many prisoners passively accepted psychological abuse and, by the other officers' request, actively harassed other prisoners who tried to stop it. The experiment has been described in a lot of introductory textbooks, although some have chosen to exclude it because of its methodology. Methodology is questionable.
Go figure.
No fucking shit.
Come on now. I've not been to jail, but
Yeah. So the U.S. Office of Naval Research funded the experiment as an investigation into the causes of difficulties between guards and prisoners in the United States Navy and United States Marine Corps. Certain portions of it were filmed, and excerpts of the footage are publicly available, by the way. So you can see this fucked up shit anytime you want. They actually made a documentary onto it.
That sounds like a terrifying real-life movie.
It's sad and disturbing, but it's pretty good. The experiment's findings have been called into question, and the experiment has been criticized for unscientific methodology. Although Zimbardo interpreted the experiment as having shown that the prison guards instinctively embraced sadistic and authoritarian behaviors.
Well, you don't say.
Yeah.
Give somebody some power. Watch what the fuck happens.
The crazy thing is, though, is he actually instructed these guards to exert psychological control over the prisoners. Like, as it's starting, he gives them this little lecture, and that's some of this is his fault.
Yeah.
For damn
Oh,
sure.
well, of course.
I mean,
The fact that he put it together is also his fault. But
I was about to say,
yeah.
the whole shit is his fault completely.
Yeah. So his primary reason was to focus on the power of roles, rules, symbols, group identity, and situational validation of behavior that generally would repulse ordinary individuals. A quote of his was, "I've been conducting research for some years on de-individualization, vandalism, and dehumanization that illustrated with the ease with which ordinary people could be led to engage in antisocial acts by putting them in situations where they felt anonymous, or they could perceive of others in ways that made them less than human as enemies or objects."
Wow.
Wow. So these participants that were recruited they were told they would be participating in a 2-week prison simulation. The team selected the 24 applicants whose test results predicted they would be the most psychologically stable and healthy. These participants were predominantly white and of middle class. The group was intentionally selected to exclude those with criminal backgrounds, psychological impairments, or medical problems. They all agreed to participate in this and receive $15 a day, which is about $100 now.
Yeah, that's dope.
Okay, so it was conducted in a 35-second. I feel you, Justin. I read it when I was writing this. I was like, wow, $100 a day. I mean,
shit, cool.
So it was in a 35-foot section in the basement of the psychology building, by the way.
So they weren't off-site.
No.
No.
It was there.
These
They're in
motherfuckers,
Stanford.
just,
Yeah, just
they were just
chilling.
fucking nuts.
And these are students.
That's
Like
crazy.
they went there every day.
Like I could almost see
You know?
like get into a mental state when you're like actually off-site at a prison. Like maybe shit changed. You're at the building you go to every day
I know,
already.
right? Yeah,
Like,
it's crazy.
That's
So
fucking wild.
the prisoners were confined for 24 hours a day. In contrast, the guards lived in a completely different environment, separated from the prisoners, and they were given rest and relaxation areas and other comforts. They were also allowed to leave when their quote-unquote shift was over.
Oh.
So like real guards.
real
right?
guards,
yeah.
They, like I was saying earlier, they held an orientation for the guards the day before, during which guards were instructed not to harm the prisoners physically or withhold food or drink. But they did say you can create in prisoners feelings of boredom, a sense of fear to some degree. You can create a notion that their life is totally controlled by us, by the system, you, me, and they'll have no privacy.
What's the difference between modern day jail and that?
I know, right? We're going to take away their individuality in various ways. In general, what all this leads to is a sense of powerlessness. That is, in this situation, we'll have all the power and they'll have none, which is already fucked up. They already messed up the experiment by saying all that to these fake guards. But
Well, they put it in their heads to be like, oh, so we can fuck with them?
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, which kind of like leads me to, I hate to interrupt, but like leads me to a kind of a question of being someone who's been to jail. Like that feels like that wasn't an experiment. That feels like that was just
Normal.
part of it.
Yeah.
Like they make you feel like you are not human,
Right.
like you are below them, and they take your rights away. They
like-
take everything away from you. You are not.
Just chattel at that point. Bro.
Yeah.
Right. So they did all that. Here's the really fucked up thing, Joe. Justin, you were talking about how like this is just their building that they're in.
Yeah.
Well, so the prisoners were arrested at their homes and charged with armed robbery. The local police department assisted them with this and conducted a full booking procedure on the prisoners, which included like fingerprinting, taking mugshots. The prisoners were transported to the mock prison from the police station where they were strip searched and given their new identities. Wow. So they put the prisoners through the whole show.
Well, they kind of had to
shebang,
because I've watched that show 60 Days In and watched all of the seasons. The last 2 were in Gadsden, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And
John Maynard, what's up?
what up? But if they're not prefaced, like I actually told Carolyn the other day, she's from Gadsden. I was like, shit, if they ever want to do one in Tuscaloosa, I'd be down.
Sure.
Because you have to be from the region that you like. Because in all of them that I've watched, there's these people coming in and they don't know how to answer the questions right because they have, number one, either never been in that situation or number 2, are not from the area.
Yeah.
So these people, like undercover cops, undercover investigators, this, that, and the other, are going in and you know, trying to do 60 days in these prisons or jails or whatever.
Yeah.
And they show up, and as soon as you walk in and OG asks you a question, if you you're gonna get your ass beat.
Yeah.
Because they know you're lying.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
bro.
that's why 60 days
First
in.
check. Where your papers at?
So 60 days in is watching this, which you're not. Get in touch with me because you guys are fucking all the way up on this kind of like going in and doing shit, like behind the scenes shit. Because motherfuckers, the whole
Did you
thing.
just inquire
Like,
for a job?
yes,
at
I did.
60 days in?
I did. These motherfuckers. I mean, you got to know what you fucking like. It's like if you're gonna hire a fucking chef or a bartender or a cook or whatever, you don't want them to be the opposite of what you're hiring for.
Yeah, true that.
True.
Big
You know,
facts, big
I mean,
facts.
use your brain.
Use your brain.
So the guards, they had differing responses to their new roles. One, described as being the most abusive, felt his aggressive behavior was helping experimenters to get what they wanted. And another, who had joined the experiment hoping to be selected as a prisoner, which is weird, instead recalls, I brought joints with me, and every day I wanted to give them to the prisoners. I looked at their faces and saw how they were getting dispirited, and I felt sorry for them.
And of course, you wanted to give them joints.
Yeah.
Wait, he didn't give him joints?
No, because the fake
'cause he was
warden
an
here,
officer. Yeah.
David Jaffe, or I don't know, intervened to change this guard's behavior, encouraging him to participate more and become more tough. First day, relatively uneventful. Second day, the prisoners in cell 1 blockaded their door with their beds and took off their stocking caps that they were forced to wear, refusing to come out or follow the guards' instructions. Guards from other shifts volunteered to work extra hours to assist in subduing the revolt, and subsequently attacked the prisoners with fire extinguishers when they weren't being supervised by the research staff.
Third day, pussy guy gives out joints.
What? Is this the second day?
Second night, because the research staff has gone home, apparently, which is another, that's stupid. And they fucking...
Here's a control. Just look at it for
They
a
just
little
left these people
while.
to their own devices.
Yeah.
Just like,
Just-
cool, y'all got
just-
this, right? We're going to head out.
La Quinta's calling my name real quick.
yeah.
I don't know what's going on with you.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Day 2, bro. Holy shit.
So, finding that handling 9 cellmates with only 3 guards per shift was challenging, one of the guards suggested that they use psychological tactics to control them. They set up a privileged cell in which prisoners who were not involved in the riot were treated with special rewards, such as like a higher quality meal. The privileged inmates chose not to eat the meal in commiseration with their fellow prisoners.
Wow.
After only 35 hours, one prisoner began to act crazy, as Zimbardo described. Literally, he called it crazy. He's a psychology professor.
Yeah.
And he said he's acting crazy. So-
Crazy.
Number 8612 then began to act crazy, to scream, to curse, to go into a rage that seemed out of control. It took quite a while before we became convinced that he was really suffering and that we had to release him.
Wow.
Well, why don't you just give him a number instead of a name and see how he reacts to that real quick?
Well, they told or they forced the prisoners to repeat their assigned numbers to reinforce the idea that this was their new identity. Guards soon used these prisoner counts to harass them, using physical punishment such as like all these push-ups and shit like that. Sanitary conditions declined rapidly, exasperated by the guards' refusal to allow some prisoners to urinate or defecate anywhere but in a bucket placed in their cell.
Wow.
And as a further punishment, they wouldn't let the prisoners empty the bucket.
My butthole would have just
shit.
blowed up because
Yeah,
I just wouldn't have been able to deal with that. I'm just going to go ahead and say.
The guards started they removed their mattresses at one point, making them sleep on the concrete. Some prisoners were forced to be naked as a method of degradation. Several guards became increasingly cruel as this continued. Experimenters reported that approximately 1/3 of the guards exhibited genuine sadistic tendencies.
Right, and this is in like 4 days, 6 days.
This is before
Wait,
6 days.
Where was this taking place?
nuts.
Stanford.
Oh, I thought it was
Most of the
Tuscaloosa County
guards-
Jail.
Most of the guards were upset when they called the experiment after 6 days.
Because they can't get out their deepest, darkest fantasies.
Yeah.
of
Because they
punishment
made
to
all
other
D's
people.
in high school. Need some kind of power trip. Shout out to all the cop outs out there.
Oh, man. Those
So-
motherfuckers that work in prisons, some of them are just like,
Nah, you guys
Bro,
can
you
go
ain't
fuck
shit.
off.
some of y'all okay.
Yeah.
If y'all listening, but some of y'all ain't shit, and you know who you are. Anyway.
A crazy story. So the one that they let out, that was acting all crazy.
Yeah.
Rumors started to circulate that this guy was going to come back with a bunch of his buddies to force the experiment to end. So Zimbardo, believing this rumor was true, moved the whole experiment to like the 3rd floor and then hid and waited in the basement to see if it would happen. It never happened, so they moved it back down to the basement.
It
This
would
is
have been
a very eventful.
it would have been a
6
funnier
days.
experiment on just him.
That is,
I know,
You know?
right? Yeah.
Like his reaction to what was going on.
A lot
less
of these
than a week. All this shit happened in less than a week.
in less
It's
than a week.
fucking
Yeah.
insane, bro.
A lot of the prisoners had like internalized their roles too, since some had stated that they would accept parole even if it would mean forfeiting their pay, despite the fact that they could just quit and walk out at any time. Like any point in time, they could say, "Fuck this, I'm out."
We're good.
Yeah, they started talking about parole and shit. It's just absolutely insane.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It's the mind of an
It's like-
animal, man.
Like they
You
forgot
fucking-
that this is just an experiment. Like they got like straight on into their roles. Like that's insane.
And
Well, when you put a mammal in a cage,
So
It's a thrill.
you guys want to know why he called it quits?
So,
A woman named Christina Maslach. She was a graduate student there, and
wait,
Zimbardo
Can you run that back?
mass latch.
Maslach, I think. But
Mass latch.
Zimbardo was
There's a joke there I missed. But
Yeah, you did.
Zimbardo was
It's
dating
okay.
this girl and married this girl later on.
Mm-hmm.
She came in and said, "Hey, this is fucked up."
That's what ended it.
Hey, bro, I like your penis, but what you're doing, not so much.
Seriously, she just like came in to check on the grand
Yes.
experiment and was like, "Whoa, hey, we need to stop." And he was like, "Well, I am banging her. Hey, let's call this off, guys."
Yeah, I probably should. I want to keep banging her. So, you know what? The trauma that I've caused all of you, I'm sorry. I'm going to go
My
marry
God.
her and I'm going to do some paperwork on what just happened.
That's fucking
It's
crazy.
crazy. It's like the story I heard of a comedian. I forget her name, but she was like addicted to meth. When she was like 19 to 22. And her sister came to visit her in the streets of San Francisco and just literally said, "You probably need to quit doing meth." And she hadn't done it since that
Yeah.
day. And like became like this
Holy
successful
shit.
comedian writer.
That's crazy.
Like, literally just somebody just said, "Hey, you probably shouldn't do that."
Yeah. Sometimes it takes that. Like,
Yeah.
we get so entrenched in something.
You're
And
so
in this
in it that
case,
you don't even.
Well, and
they were
also,
so in it that they started fucking doing horrible shit. And then these other guys, the prisoners, were just like, "Well, this is my fate now." I mean, that's just
was also
ridiculous.
Motherfuckers was like, "Well, you don't even have to pay us. We'll just be here."
sometimes
You know what I mean? Like, it's
sometimes
fucking
all it
crazy.
really takes is somebody that you give a fuck saying something that you already know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
Sometimes
true.
all it takes.
Honestly,
Yeah. For a lot of things in life, by the way.
yeah.
I'll say one positive result of this study. by the way, so many people since and during or shortly after were like, you did something very fucked up, and also you fucked up while conducting this experiment.
Right.
There's so many things you did that are unscientific. There's no control.
No.
You led the guards into behaving this way in a lot of instances. Like, just so many things he did not do right. But it has altered the way U.S. prisons are run a tiny bit. For example,
That's why I say it sounds pretty damn similar to actual.
this is
What's
something
going on.
that I didn't know, though, before this. Juveniles accused of federal crimes are no longer housed before trial with adult prisoners because of this experiment, which beforehand, they were letting kids hang out with adult fucking prisoners.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Horrible.
That's
Yeah, you want to go to school real quick?
so many bad things happened. I'm sure. That are not talked about in those situations, bro.
Yeah.
Especially with like sexual offenders that are in prison, and not only that, but like criminals that are basically giving kids something to believe in that is just crime. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bad
Also,
bad
I've got a
behavior.
poll going right now of how long you think the guy that murdered George Floyd is going to last in prison.
Oh, yeah.
So
If he's in Gym Pop, it's over with.
no, if it's
like,
in Gym
week
Pop,
one.
it's like 2 or 3 days. I
I was
think.
I
talking
think so.
about-
I was thinking like 13 hours.
I was talking to my boy. I was like, bro, I hope he in the weight room right now. I hope he training. Get some John Wick training.
He
boy,
can
'cause,
be in the weight room for the next
bet
5
your shit
years
rocked.
and
But-
not be able to survive what's about to happen to him.
bro. The OG
You
gonna
can be as
send.
strong as you want. That shank ain't gonna stop anything.
That's what I
Nope.
say. All the OG have to do is just tell a young homie on the block, on the cell block, he's over there, lunchtime, cafeteria, in the yard.
I watched one of the biggest
getting got-
OGs in the whole fucking yard
Well, see, the thing about it is,
talking shit. Like,
they might just beat his ass every day and just let him live for a minute. You
Well,
know
that's what I mean.
Just
Like,
to,
I like
more so torture him even further.
the
'cause-
little area.
but they're
I
not
had
going to
to
put him in Gym Pop because they know this.
little area I had to deal with was Gym Pop, and there was this one guy that was fucking huge.
Gym Pop is
And-
general population prison. by the way.
yeah.
It's like just everybody
Sorry.
in one big block. So
But
people know that shit.
yeah. Sorry, they don't. Damn. I know.
Gym Pop sounds like a liquor that has a pop song out of it.
Yeah, and it's not going to be good either. I got the Gym Pop, baby.
Gym Pop.
Anyway,
To me, that sounds like you just drank a whole bunch of gin. You
had
had
a
to pop off.
Gin, I'm about to pop.
but there was this guy who was really built, really big guy, and about 3 days in, people started talking, and I wasn't kind of involved in the groups of talking with what was going on, and then heard from my cellmate, hey, so and so is going down tomorrow, and I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, well, we got word that Big Daddy OG down there fucked a 4-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So I woke up. You have your normal, lockout, lockout, lockout. You got to leave your cell. And you walk out. And we walked out to all that motherfucker's on the ground and bleeding a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's over with. How many?
Yeah. So any advice? Number one, should be just kind of a humanistic standpoint. Don't fuck with kids.
Don't diddle kids, please. Just stop.
Because it's going to be way worse. You get the repercussions from the judge, then you have to go to jail and deal with that. And that is the least dealt with population in jails.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Is
in
people
most of
who
those, in
fuck
most
with
of the
kids.
situations, they just let it happen. Like the
Yeah.
guards already know it's
No,
crazy.
the guards don't give
They'll
a
just
fuck.
let it rock, and then once it's done,
And honestly,
they'll put
if
it
I
up
was
to
a guard,
a brawl happened.
I would
they
do it.
got hurt or died. Not the real reason why. Like,
no.
it's
If I was a guard, I'd watch it. I'd watch it, take pictures, and laugh. But that's just me.
people are fucked up, man. People are fucked up. But yeah. Oh, was
But
it
this
Chavez?
goes to show a lot of it
Think about
is the situation that you put him in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody makes a decision that's bad out of desperation or anger or sadness or a drug issue, or just was simply told the wrong way to live, and then you put him in something like that just further cements that antisocial behavior.
That's why prison reform is a major issue that we need to talk
Please,
about.
God.
Because some of this shit, they just put them in a box and put them next to other criminals that don't want to change and are going to instill more bullshit into them rather than like having in-house counselors or fucking job fairs, fucking like career path classes, like rehabilitation of the mind, not debilitation.
Watch
of your shit, you know?
the Nas documentary on Netflix. I watched that yesterday, and it was fucking fantastic. Mostly what he talked about on that was his dad was an intelligent guy. His mom was a genius. Put he and his brother through everything that they could have been positively. His dad dipped out on him after a little while, but still kept kind of a positive enforcement. But they went through life coming from Natchez, Mississippi to New York. Huge culture change, like completely, and adapting that culture from what they had come from and grown up with teaching wise from their parents. I don't know. Just check that. I mean, it shows you the perceptional reality of regions. Which is insane that it could be 400 miles divided and so different. But
Mississippi and New York, that's different countries. Bro.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Those are different countries, G. Like, come on, man. Like, he's from Queens, I think, Queensbridge. Think about that compared to Natchez, Mississippi, just in itself. Yeah. Like, bro, what? Like... No.
Which is kind of sad too, because his dad grew up as a musician in Natchez.
Hella badass jazz musician.
Badass fucking trumpet player.
That's what instilled in Nas to be in the music. Or whatever.
And the only reason why Nas didn't keep going with trumpet is because his dad told him to stop because it was going to fuck up his lip growth.
Yeah.
Because he told him to stop at the age of 7. He said he was phenomenal. Or he said to stop until he was at the age of 7. And when he came back 2 years later at the age of 7, he was like, nah, man, I'm on to something else.
Well, luckily, he still used his lungs to create some beautiful fucking music. Because Nas Illmatic is one of the dopest
Illmatic
albums ever
is
fucking created by a man.
One of the pinnacles of rap.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, those are some crazy experiments. The Stanford fucking prison one is ultra fucked up, and there's a documentary about it. If you want to get deep into that hole, you do that. But it's fucked up, super fucked up. And the Nazi fucking thing. And
so I will say the Nazi one, the third wave, they actually did a movie in 2008 called Die Welle, which is DIEWELLE, which is the wave. They did the first interpretation of that in the 60s, and they remade it in 2008 in German. So there's going to be subtitles, but it's about what I just talked about.
Right.
So that's fucking well. Well, y'all check those things out.
Hope we learned something, guys.
I mean, I learned a lot.
Your memory is often
I think I'm
wrong.
learning something every episode this season.
Your memory is often wrong. You can be easily manipulated, and you often do things you don't realize that you're doing because you're put in an uncomfortable situation.
Right.
And you are a product of the situation that you are placed in.
Yep.
A lot of the times.
A lot of the times.
My mom always said, lay with dogs, you're going to get fleas.
Tell you what, I think Ben
exactly
Franklin
right.
said that first, right?
That's true.
Ben Franklin.
Did he?
Franklin did it.
Yeah. Franklin did it. That's what I'm saying when mom says that from now on. I have kids and they come over and be like, nope, Franklin did it.
Yeah. By the way, episode 2 and 3, first season, we covered Ben Franklin. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, man, I'm Justin Hemmons. I'm saying love life because it's worth living, y'all.
I'm Drew Shelnut. I'm saying stay informed and make a difference. That's it. Stay informed and make a difference. Is the only way to make a difference is to be informed.
Grant Bramlett here. I never liked you. I always loved you. Sometimes.
All right. Well, there's that. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. Next week, we'll get into some really, really cool stuff. And the week after that, and the week after that. It's going to be a dope season. Y'all stay tuned. Y'all stay tuned. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever y'all listen to this. Join in. Give us that follow. Give us that 5-star review. And don't forget, Monday, 7:30, Facebook, YouTube, all that shit. We go live Monday, 7:30, every Monday. Anyway, we love y'all. This has been a podcast called Friends, Facts, and Fiction. And we out.
Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the next installment. Find us on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date on all things Friends, Facts, and Fiction. Our Instagram handle is friends_facts_fiction. As always, please reach out to us. You can send any of your questions, praise, and fact-checking to friends.facts.fiction@gmail.com. It's important to us to only propagate the truth, and we'll correct any errors we may have made. Your hosts and researchers are Justin Hammonds, Grant Bramlett, and Drew Shellnut. Our episodes are produced by Grant Bramlett. Additional producership provided by Grace Higgs. Our recording engineer is Grant Bramlett. Our editor, mix, and mastering audio engineer is Jeremy Mulder. Lighting design is provided by Justin Hammonds. Our office assistants are Gully and Bull. Our research assistants are Under and Paid. Our current interns are Lost and Questionable. Our personal drivers are Titleist and Tired. And our resident pooches are Pack and Jolene, the Devil Child. This has been a production of Friends, Facts, and Fiction.